Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, Mr. Shakir Ramsey. How are you, Shakir?
I'm doing well.
Good. I'm pleased. And where are you joining us from today then? Somewhere exotic?
No, as you can tell from my background, I'm in a cubicle in my home, just resting and hanging out with you. No, I'm in America. I notice you have a little bit of an accent there, and I'm on the West Coast in LA.
Los Angeles, LAX.
Yes, well, not exactly LAX, but yes,
But close by. Close by. Hollywood. No, I'm joking.
Hollywood.
No, so great to have you in the show, and thanks for giving us some time today. I know you've been doing lots of stuff over the last few years, and I know that we originally met actually. I think it was actually just after lockdown.
Yeah, we were in the throes of the pandemic. The world was on fire, and humanity mattered again. So we met.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, man. We've been at it for a few years now. The world has turned back on, and we're still mates, and yeah, we're still connecting.
we're still mates.
Still connecting through screens.
Exactly, but the thing is, so we did actually have a plan about that, didn't we? So we met doing a year-long sprint, I suppose you could call it, wasn't it, with Mr. Benjamin Hardy, Dr. Benjamin.
Yeah,
Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And then we broke off into our own little huddle, our own little tag team.
Yep.
And then I had this zany idea about meeting up in Las Vegas last January, remember? And
Yep.
so I kind of thought, oh, what the hell, I'll buy a couple of tickets to see my favorite rock star, David Lee Roth. Invite Shakir. Shakir says, good job, good idea. And then what happens? I fly to New York, and just as I land in New York, I get this text message saying, "Hello, this is Ticketmaster. The concert has been cancelled because David Lee Roth's band has been put down with COVID. So what do I do? Do I turn around, fly back to London? No. I fly on to Las Vegas, and then we kind of got a little plan together, didn't we? And I ended up in Los Angeles.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And we met in person, which was awesome.
Yeah. So we were in lockdown. We were communicating virtually, like you mentioned, and then we finally went IRL. Right? We threw the phones away, and we finally got to dap each other in 3D. It was cool.
IRL and dap each other in 3D. I don't understand that. You're talking. I don't understand that. What's IRL then? What's that mean?
IRL in real life.
Oh, in real life. Okay.
Yeah. And a dap. You got to hang out with the youngsters. A dap is when you do something like this.
And
then 3D is the real world physics.
Okay. You see, you're keeping me on the you're keeping me street.
Well, this G&T stands for growth and technology, right? So this is also tech, right? So the love language is tech. So I'm giving you a little bit of the love.
You give me a bit of growth as well. You give me a bit of TLA growth, three-letter acronym growth. So no. So I really appreciated actually meeting you. I mean, it was a bit of a zany trip that.
Yeah.
And I ended up actually being in San Francisco, and I didn't go to Hawaii then. That was January, wasn't it? Yeah, but I met some really good people, and obviously meeting you in person, because we spent so much time during that year-long sprint talking about stuff, and obviously we're at different stages of our evolution on this planet.
Yep.
But I think one of the things I always felt, and hopefully you felt the same thing, we kind of connected, and we kind of we were like bouncing off each other, and really had a lot of similar perspectives on a lot of the things that were going on, and also what we've been through. So Yeah, so it was absolute pleasure to spend time with you in person, and obviously it's always better to be in person. But yeah, I mean, I felt like I knew you before we met, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was one of those kind of spooky moments, wasn't
Yeah. Well, you had me at hello with your accent. So, yeah, hello. So funny enough, I I have an obsession with soccer, and it traces into the English Premier League, and I grew up just watching this stuff, and so I was always curious to learn about you and your perspective and so forth, and it bled into just a natural bond. So yeah,
Exactly.
now
Good, cool. So yes, I mean, you said you live in Los Angeles, and I think you've been there for a while, is it? Or you how long have you been in Los Angeles for?
yeah, so I've been here about 5 years now, so it's been a minute. But I'm from all over. I grew up outside of Boston, and then I've crisscrossed around the country to pursue the dream, and it brought me over to the West Coast, where I get to hang out with the stars.
Yeah, it's Tinseltown, I suppose, isn't it? They still call it Tinseltown. Seems a bit weird. It seems a bit weird when you call it Tinseltown, doesn't it? It seems a bit kind of it seems a bit of a strange phrase
I
when
haven't
you
I haven't seen any tinsel.
maybe at Christmas. So so I
There
mean,
is one. It's palm trees and sunshine here.
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I mean obviously there's a little bit of a tech scene on the beach. I remember going to see. I went down to the beach. It was before that, actually. It was probably a year earlier. It was actually just before COVID, actually. And there's a Google office just by the beach, just by the shutters by the beach. That nice hotel, and they've got like some binoculars. I don't. You've probably been there. The binoculars where it's literally binoculars looking down. It's like that search thing, and that's their LA office, the Google office. So, but you wouldn't think it was a Google office, but if you look at it and you go, it's actually some binoculars going vertically into the floor. So it's pretty funky.
Yeah.
But obviously, normally the tech stuff's around San Francisco, isn't it? So, or now moving to Austin. So yeah, I mean, for people that I suppose don't know Shakir Ramsey yet, maybe you could do a bit of an intro and give us a bit of a pen portrait on what's going on in Shakir's world at the moment, or what's been going on recently. What's your give us some perspectives on life in LA and the kind of things you've been getting involved in.
Yeah.
So I know it's multifaceted.
Yeah. So I'll start high level, and we can swim into the deeper waters as it makes sense. Super high level, I am a high tempo growth marketing dude, and I have a strong bias towards everything digital, right? So that's digital past, present, and futures. Um, I get up motivated every day to empower brands and creators, storytellers, laborers, right? You name it, to reach their maximum potential with some version of digital transformation or acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as projects that reflect that, um, my most recent stint was in the fashion and sports space, where I was focused on end-to-end marketing activations with high-profile influencers. So
Mm.
that's one thing. Another thing was, over the summer, I was a UCLA professor,
Oh,
teaching the
cool.
next generation. Yeah, teaching the next generation of digital marketers how to hack growth as a strategic thinker in marketing, as an entrepreneur, as an innovator. And then finally, I have been spreading my bets across the next evolution of the internet, Web3,
Mm-hmm.
where I've been advising and helping a Web3 company that's focused on fractional real estate on the blockchain
Mm-hmm.
and democratizing ownership in that asset class. So that's been really, really cool, just to start to look towards the future. And then, absolutely, finally, underneath all that, I'm really a creator at heart. And
Mm.
so, one of my passion projects has been the exploration of physical and digital creations through an immersive multi-sensory experience, which is now afforded to us with all the amazing tech tools and opportunities that are out there.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that's what I found with you when we had those conversations was it was a bit like yeah, the phrase I suppose peeling an onion. Yeah, it's a bit like there was different layers to what you were working on, and it's really, I mean, because you're an artist, aren't you? And you write and you play music as well, so you're very creative as well as you're like a practitioner of creativity, but
Yeah,
you're also helping creators as well. That's what I saw was you weren't just like helping, you were doing as well.
thank
Is that
you. Yeah, I'm a pretty unorthodox marriage of the creative and the analytical, data centric stuff. And I would say that that is highly motivated by the urgency of today, where we're in a world where it's no longer either or. These
mm,
binaries that have shaped our outlook on life are really collapsing into a multidimensional perspective, right? The truth is that when you are born, you don't have these lines in your behavior or these designations about what you are going to do. Those
hmm
are imposed on you as you get older,
right?
as you create fear about not being those things. And
Mm,
so for me, it's about embracing the multidimensional. It's really about walking in the footsteps of Einstein. And Einstein, he's one of the first with quantum physics to talk about how we'll never be able to solve the problems we create with only one perspective, right? You have to have a diversity of perspectives that's within yourself as well as those that you surround yourself with to actually break down and solve problems. And so for
mm.
me, what you described as being multifaceted is my superpower.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know because I know you were putting stuff out there as well. Some of your you could call it your cartoons, your paintings, your characterizations. Is that still out there? Is it because I know you were going through an evolution with that? Is that
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the way I look at it is, I grew up with the web, right? So Web 0, Web 2, Web 3.
mm,
Web 2 is about, social media and connecting to individuals through in an identity that you created on your Facebook page or what have you. And now we're moving into Web 3, which is more decentralized, right? It implies ownership, and you create assets that have scarcity embedded. And so
hmm
now, like when you create your identity, you actually have something that can be persistent
hmm
as our environments mature for that persistence. But with that, there's this opportunity to really create a digital twin, right?
right?
That's not just a picture of who you are that you can take with a camera, but it's something that you can create. That could be a
Mm.
cartoon, right? If you
You like
remember
you
it
like you mean like an avatar? You mean or a kind of
exactly like an
yeah
avatar, exactly.
a second life kind of thing? Yeah.
Exactly. And so for
Mm.
me, what you're mentioning, the cartoons or the avatars or some of these creative explorations is really a manifestation of that. It's understanding that who I am is not just this physical version, but also it's the digital version that will become more and more an asset over time.
Mm. Well, it's a bit like it's a bit like one of my earlier guests actually, who I think his signature is he's the only CEO with a mohawk. He's based in Singapore, and he's got literally a mohawk haircut. Yeah, and
Well, well, hold on. I'm a CEO of myself, right? I'm Shakir Incorporated, and I have a mohawk too. So I don't know about that.
well, no, his is quite pointy. I think he uses a bit of lacquer. It's kind of like
Okay.
um,
No,
and he wears kind of like Metallica t-shirts stuff like that in Singapore,
okay,
which
so he's a
is
little
quite
more
funny.
aggressive. Okay,
Yeah, he's
mine is a faux. It's a faux hawk, right? So I'm a bit
but
of an imposter. We'll talk a little bit more about that, I guess.
no, but the reason I mentioned that was because what he said was about his perception of myself was he said you're Mr. G&T Sessions, yeah. So the kind of the persona on the, I've got a YouTube channel, got a lot of content out there. Is that's, no, you own that, you've put that out there, you've set out your stall, and that's what you're known for now. That's that kind of. I'm not saying it's the same definition of what you've done, but I haven't created an avatar or a character or a artistic stuff yet. Maybe that's the next stage, but that's just what triggered in my head when you were talking then about that kind of digital twin.
Mm-hmm.
So is it something you maybe I don't know if you plan to talk about a bit about that, or you would share some links to some of the work you've done? Is that something you want
Yeah,
to do maybe as part of publishing
yeah.
this episode? Because I think it's fantastic what you've done. It's really good.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Where it makes sense. I mean, I think the bigger piece is that uh, I am this marriage of the creative and the analytical,
mm,
and my ability to perform and impact brands, or whether it's clients I work with, right, comes from that creative source,
hmm
right? Like you're not going to be able to innovate if directly you don't know what that looks like in yourself,
hmm
right? Like if you walk around with a hammer in your hand, you're going to see the world as a nail,
hmm
right? Everything you're going to see is a nail, and you're going to apply brute force to to hammer it in. And so creativity, whether it's developing your own avatar, painting, I make music, what it does is it keeps you loose and fluid,
hmm
to be open. And ultimately, the goal for me as we move towards more digital connections, right? The proliferation of more data is to make sure that in that design, humanity is central,
hmm
right? And so my uh, piece to those that are listening is, stay creative, create, because that's what's going to keep you human.
mm. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but one of the things I was kind of a bit, blown away with what you were doing when you kind of disclosed it and you talked about it a little bit, was the kind of because you are a creator, then the people that you were working closely with, which there's some very famous individuals and organizations you were working with, was my perception of you was that because you were a creator, you knew how to integrate with them, you knew how to support them, you knew how to work with them,
Yeah.
and only that, I think that's kind of superpower was the way that you were operating at that level. Because I
Hmm.
remember some of the stuff that you told me, in confidence about some of the launches you were working on and some of the celebrities you were working with, and it was
Hmm.
like I was like pinching myself. I was going, "Wow, that's like amazing." It's like 2 degrees of separation, but I can understand because of the way you do it, and you do it with a lot of privacy and professionalism, and because you've got that creative side to you, I could see how you would gel with them. So
Yeah.
that was kind of what more just me playing back to you my observations when we were talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
because it was like some of the stuff you worked on is being kind of worldwide, global, you know, big stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so you're right, right? Like, at the end of the day, creative collaborations, they come from trust,
mm,
right? And whether you're a high profile influencer, like you're saying, impacting millions, or you're just an artist on the street,
mm,
playing your guitar for change,
mm,
it really does come down to the love language of trust,
hmm
right? You're giving a part of yourself,
yeah,
and it doesn't change if you have $1 billion in your account. And so you're right to acknowledge that in my day jobs, I have had opportunities to work with some really significant individuals in the creative arenas.
mm,
But the bigger piece uh, for me is it's not them or that. It's
mm,
it's being able to connect
hmm
with these folks no matter what, because I too am a creator, and all of us are, right?
yeah,
And and
don't forget that. Yeah. Yeah.
and don't forget that.
Mm.
And your podcast is about growth and technology, and implicit in that is business. And what I would
Hmm.
say is that as we continue to evolve uh, business from the function of profit
Hmm.
and towards more purpose to what I
Mm.
call the quantum realm, right?
Right.
Where it's about service, service to yourself, service to others, service to the universe. Um, as we move towards purpose, uh, recognizing the creator in yourself becomes paramount.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, I suppose that links to kind of what happened with me with the G&T sessions. That I mean, this. I mean, when I record all these episodes and never publish them, yeah, because
Mhm.
this imposter syndrome about actually, well, and then one weekend I release 10 episodes in one weekend, and then you get into the rhythm and you get feedback and encouragement, and more and more people approach you. Actually, me rather than me doing outreach of actually getting guests on, people are actually approaching me to come on the show to tell their story. So
Yeah,
that's just like a shift in in uh, in what I thought it could be. But obviously, as you know, I mean, personally because you've got children as well. Is the credibility when my sons realised that I got their dad had got their own TV channel, his own TV channel. That was a watershed moment for me. So and always will be.
yeah.
Um,
It, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say. I mean, I mean, in terms of your journey, I mean, the thing that what are you seeing in the world today? What are the things that you want to do more on and kind of do more on and do less of? What are you seeing is going on that is there anything that's concerning you, or is there anything that you're excited about? What are those kind of those extremes that you're seeing that you is kind of guiding you down your path? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, for me, it's about buckling my seatbelt and holding tight, right, to whatever comes. The world has gone through so much disruption uh, over the past 5 years, 10, 20. What I thought was going to happen by today has not, 20 years ago. And so I stay excited because there's so much surprise that's in store. Um, with that, though, as we think about tech and some of the implications, I am concerned about some of the ethical
Mm,
application. We must ensure that as tech continues to elevate its utility in our lives, our
mm,
dependence increases, that we do not become more isolated. And we just have to, whether it's as parents, whether it's as citizens, we just have to keep a close watch um, on our behavior and the evolution of it as we become more and more dependent on tech. So
mm,
that's that's the sort of the sandbox of my excitement.
mm.
Um, I'll take a step back. Uh, you were asking me about my story, uh, and it really doesn't form your question to me. So I told you that I crisscrossed around the country, and if I had to even go deeper, it's like my story really is no different than a Tarantino film,
Which
right?
one?
The guy that made Pulp Fiction, and right, and if you remember that movie, and most of his movies are like this, it starts out with a bang, and good luck trying to piece a narrative
It
together.
starts with the Bruce Willis in the boxing match, doesn't it? Is that right?
Right. Well, yeah, but usually it starts with some sort of bang. Something explosive happens in the first five
Hmm.
minutes.
Right,
And so good luck afterwards trying to piece together a narrative, because ultimately it's so non-linear, right? Like
right.
that's how he constructs his stories. And funny enough, it's like in reflection as I as I think back, it makes sense, right? Because it's easy to play Monday night uh, quarterback when the game's already gone. You say, "Oh, this is what happens," and then we have this linear construction. But as I think about like what's going to happen 5, 10 years from now, and what excites me, it's back to that point I was making, which is it's going to be full of surprise. And really,
Mm-hmm.
what my focus is when it comes to some of my projects is really having a thesis around uh, where I feel, whether it's audience, um, consumerism, where people are shifting.
Mm.
Where is the hockey puck going?
Mm.
Not where it's been. Where is it going? And that's how, for me, I set myself up in those projects and the people that I'm around. I set us up for the best chances of success. Um, and so, when I think about it from a digital perspective, what we're undergoing right now is of seismic consequence, right? We're literally going through a migration on the scale of the ice age, when, humans, they were all like in one part of the world, and then they migrated to what we call now the Americas because of the ice. And
Mm.
what's been happening over the past 20 years is this slow migration towards a digital identity, right? And a digital purpose.
But
And
how does that manifest itself? What, if you talk practically, how are you seeing that's made manifested?
well, I see it like, for instance, whether it's in my kids, right? And they
Mm.
wake up uh, trying to log into Roblox because if they don't, they will lose the points that they have accrued to convert those points to currency that allows them to buy skins or or different uh, uh, potions
Assets, right?
and assets and what have you. And that is what some kids go to sleep at night dreaming about, right?
Right.
Is this new expansion of their identity in this
Mm.
virtual infinite world, right? And so for
So that's just a question.
older,
That's what you're observing with your kids. And
yes,
how old are your kids? How old are they?
they're they're going into middle school,
Okay.
and yeah, and so uh, the point I'm making there, just based on experience, is that that wasn't what kept me up
No.
at
Or
night,
me. Yeah.
right? Right. Uh, and so with that thesis, I'm
Mm.
looking at my projects with a very um, surgical, measured perspective,
Mm.
where there has to be some understanding that the world is in flux, right? The narrative
Mm.
is going to be continuously changing, and where are we going to continue to attach our identity, right? So 2 years ago it was around metaverse and crypto and you know recognizing that the wallet, your digital wallet, would be a new
Mm.
point of social status. Now you're seeing vectors around AI, right? And this idea of um, content creation being displaced by a
Mm-hmm.
bot
Mm.
that can, converse with you based on some prompts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's just a new reimagination of how we see ourselves and how we work together. And
Mm.
the one thing I have to continuously push myself with, by whether it's observing my kids or students that I have, is
Mm.
that I am slowly becoming extinct, right? Ideas are becoming extinct because the attachments I had are in many ways becoming less and less relevant.
Mm.
So
They're
as
like wasting away or decaying. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, so as a practitioner, right?
Mm.
Of digital futures, for instance, it's about constantly pushing your limits, right? By questioning your assumptions, your biases, surrounding yourself with folks that are even further out in pushing those limits,
Mm.
and not being afraid to do the stuff and jump in.
Mm.
And so that's what I'm looking at with my current projects is what are those projects that understand some of these changes and are
Mm.
anyways anti-fragile, they're resilient, no matter what these changes are because they are future looking. Um, and where do I see a culture that's uh, values based, that's purpose driven? Because when that's the case, you have automatic resilience, right? The
Mm.
context won't affect necessarily the purpose because you know what your
Yeah.
purpose and your values
What the
are.
principles are. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
principles, exactly. So,
Mm.
for instance, like, I talked about it before, ethics around whether it's privacy, right? And making sure
Mm.
that we put the user first. Um, when we put together instruments of
Or a
of
customer
technology,
experience or whatever.
yeah, or
Yeah.
instruments of technological disruption, we're putting the user first, right? We have human at the center of the design, and that informs its rollout, right? Those
Mm.
things are like what matters. Um, uh, how we leave our fears and our anxiety at the door, that matters because I think we've
Mm.
been so used to, in many cultures, um, assuming that that's what normal has to be. It doesn't, right?
Mm.
Self care and um, taking time and space to one's own health, that is super important. Very,
Mm.
very important. Very, very, very important. And so these
So,
are the
so
types of assets of the projects that I'm working on that I'm
mm.
very passionate about.
There's some big
Uh,
trends there, some big
yeah.
themes. Yeah, I mean, obviously, my sons are kind of late teens now, so obviously, it's a slightly different stage to your kids. But my observation was they were either on the Xbox or they were on YouTube.
Mhm.
But so they were kind of moving. But this thing about Roblox is your example with your kids. I mean, is that something you're concerned about? I mean, do you want to go and hide the devices? And
Mm.
and and if you did do that, would that create an amplified reaction from your children? Would they feel like you're persecuting them? I don't know if you've done that or you've restricted the time on them using it, or is it kind
Yeah.
of like how do you manage that? I suppose.
Yeah. At a practical level, yeah, restrictions are crucial. I have um, Google's Family Link, and and so I can monitor usage and rein in some of the apps and some of the websites that they go to. I think that's a critical tool if you're a parent.
Mm.
I don't necessarily believe in anything Orwellian, right, where
Right.
you're constantly big brothering
Mm.
children or helicoptering your kids.
Mm.
That's not necessary. Uh, it reminds me of this commercial I saw. I can't remember the brand, but basically, this little girl was outside playing um, with her laptop, and she was being called by her mom. Hey, come in for dinner. And she's like, "Oh, okay, mom." And the mom came out to see what she was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes, put away that computer.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughter goes, "What's that?" And the point being is your kids and your kids' kids are moving further and further away with each generation from what we thought was normal or a thing, right? Saying the internet, saying digital, saying computers for an 8-year-old or 9-year-old is redundant,
Yeah.
right? you're right. And so there is no need to overprotect when it comes to some of these things,
Hmm.
because it's the evolution of who we are as humans to continuously learn, stay curious, and use new tools, right, that help us realize who we are, right, in a quicker way. So um, it's not about overparenting. It's about just understanding some of the ramifications, and having conversations, obviously, with your kids, being being an advocate as much as possible.
Mm.
Uh, that's in a school context or a work context or a societal context. It's really just about continuously working to protect everyone from, like what I was referring to before, some of the byproducts of too much technology, where you can become
Mm.
isolated, and that can lead to adverse effects.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because some of the guests I've had on obviously have been different ages and different generations, and some people have reminisced about life before certain technologies were introduced. Um, Obviously, I see you're more of a modern. You entered the technology space at a certain juncture, um, and you're very technically and digitally savvy. Um, I mean, one of the things that I suppose I sometimes have this concern about is it's like, is there too much tech? Do we actually need to detox? We need to actually
Yeah,
remove. I feel, I've got this iPhone, but basically I feel like, should I go back to a 66? I think 6310, which is a Nokia. One of those really, those famous business phones.
you want to
Take
go
all
back
the
to bricks? Is that what
yeah.
you're talking about? Because I think Apple and Steve Jobs, they did something when they were saying, "Hey, this design stinks," and they said, "We gotta strip it down. If you want to go back, let me know, brother."
Well, no, I did actually have a stint a couple of years ago where I kind of I went from Apple to Android, and then I basically kept losing my phones. I was leaving them in taxis from street. I don't know if it was like an Android thing or whatever, but I just kept leaving them in taxis. I thought, oh, sod it, I'm going to take my SIM out and then put it in one of the. I bought an old retro 6310 and a 3310, yeah, which you just got the Snake game on, yeah, and then I existed for 2 months on that, and everybody's like, I went to all these meetings and going, what have you got there in your hand? I says, I'm going retro. I'm going backwards. Yeah, I'm going that way. Everybody's like upgrading to iPhone 26 or whatever, and I'm going back to the old Nokias. But you just get a text or you get a phone call. None of this WhatsApp. There's no WhatsApp. There's no Telegram. There's no apps. The problem is that if you think about the banking stuff now, you know, okay, if you do that, there's no branches left either. So what you can't do digital banking. So it's
Yeah,
like it's like we're being put into this. We're like being sheep herded into this kind of like digital pen. Yeah, where you
yeah,
become reliant on this damn thing, and if you don't have it, it's like you had your arm chopped off. So I think, me being spending time in technology for a number of decades and also being in the telco industry, as it's kind of like it's a bit concerning because it becomes your digital wallet, becomes your photo book. It becomes are you too reliant on this? And then if you do lose access to it, or you don't want to, you want to go off the grid, then you don't really have an option. It's kind of like it's so I'm not advocating that you do that. It's just I think when you just step back from it a second, because we're all in the vortex. We're all in the. I'm not saying I didn't say the matrix, but we're all in the vortex of adopting technology, and it just sometimes makes you think. Stop. Yeah.
yeah.
Or at least provide another path for people that don't want to go all in and deep and wide. I don't know if you've got
Well,
any thoughts on that.
you have choice always, right? So when you wake up and the first thing you do is check your text, no one's telling you to do that. You, through habit, have rewired yourself to do that, because now your agency, your meaning is coming through. Okay, what's on the other side of that message in my phone, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, and so for me, you have two things going on. One is the acceleration of tech and how it can be more useful to our lives.
Mm.
And then you have the the development of us as humans that
Mm.
are empathetic, that are connected to the earth, right, and that do things for the good of all.
Mm-hmm.
And where we get into trouble sometimes is when we confuse the two
Mm.
because we haven't really understood what our purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's a personal thing, but it does start with back to what I was saying before, purpose and values and so forth.
Mm.
Because once you have that, then it's easier to see choice for what it is, right? Which is a tool for you to realize your true self, right?
Mm.
And so for me, when I wake up, there's an allergic reaction to just going to my phone,
Mm.
right? Like I purposely don't connect to my phone to give my brain and my
Mm.
body a chance to appreciate IRL, to appreciate that this already is a technology. Um, as an aside, the first technology we go on about, uh, you know, oh man, AI and mobile handsets.
Mm-hmm.
The very first technology uh, that, that I appreciate and use today is yoga. All right, yoga was the technology of tens and thousands of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the technology of understanding your body and how
Mm-hmm.
connected it to the earth.
Are you going to tell
And
me you're a yogi now? Is it like Shakir the
no, I'm not
yogi?
saying all that, but what I am saying is that technology is really just a tool. It's taken
Mm.
on a form that's hardware based, right?
Mm.
And in many instances, software based. But it's also your body. Your body is technology, and yoga
Yeah.
is an application to unleash that. And
Mm.
so, what I'm getting at is, I see that because of values and sort of the purpose that I have in this life. And so for me, like it's not all or nothing.
Mm.
It's not, oh, if I touch this, we touch our devices more than we touch each other. That is a fact, right? But for me personally, I wake up seeking to touch in a very human way, in a very
Mm-hmm.
personal way, others, right?
Right.
And if I do use tech, it's to support that, it's to serve that, not the other way around. So it
Right.
really does come back to uh, I think the self and having a vision and having values, and then doing your best to guide your behavior with that. Easier said than done, for sure. I get it. And especially when you have kids or when you have social pressures and so forth, it's very, very hard.
Mm.
But that's the point for me of every day. It's to overcome that and spread as much love as possible because that's the stuff that you can't get from an algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, until they design that one, the special love
Yeah.
algorithm.
Yeah, we'll see.
Coming soon to a store near you,
The
and
love, the love,
available at .com.
the love
Or,
machine.
um. So yeah. I mean, in terms of, I suppose I got some I suppose kind of questions to kind of wrap up today's session. Was what are you most grateful for?
Yeah. Oh, I'm really grateful for uh, this unit of breath that I get to have and exercise when I wake up. Like when I wake up, it's like, oh, I get to do this all over again. So I'm grateful for my life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have very humble origins. My parents, uh, they emigrated to this country. I am what they call first generation American. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been blessed to experience a lot of things that have been extraordinary. And so for me, fundamentally, there is no day that uh, is bad. Not because I don't have bad days, but because to have a bad day is a good day,
Mm.
right? So that's number one. Number two, I'm really grateful for my family. I have a family, I have a wife, kids, and they've been extremely supportive, as well as my extended family, friends, as far as just being there and understanding me. It's really hard to find connections that are deep and meaningful, where someone really
Mm-hmm.
gets you. Right? I'm a
Mm.
multidimensional guy. I talked about that before. To
Mm.
many who don't know me, they might look at that as, I don't understand, right? And here's the thing: sometimes not everyone's going to be understood, but when
Mm.
you can find that, that's great. And it starts with your family and your friends and so forth. The third thing I would say that I'm grateful for is we really, in my perspective, are um, not here at any better time than we could be. I mean, we've got the opportunity to potentially go to Mars. We have 8 billion people on the planet, 75% of which have some form of a connection, a digital connection. So that means that you have access uh, instantly, hypothetically, to so many people. And so you're never alone, right?
Mm.
When you have an idea, it doesn't have to be in a vacuum in a corner of your room. You can quickly organize resources and realize that idea. Um, and tech, in a lot of ways, is the evolution of it has been responsible for some of these privileges. Some, not all.
Mm.
And that really really excites me. It excites me. I'll say this, like, as a person of color, who 50 years ago uh, couldn't or wouldn't talk about this stuff. uh,
Mm.
Can, in my body, in my presence with you,
Yeah.
that's whew,
Progress. Big
that's
progress. Yeah.
that's amazing, and I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for that.
Mm.
It's outstanding. So I'll leave
Mm.
it there. I'm really really grateful for those three things, and I'm just excited about impacting the world in a way that's deep, in a way that's creative, connected, in a way that's loving.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, all I was going to say was, I mean, I think, you know, the great thing about having you on today's show is that now you're part of the first 100 guests of the G&T sessions. So, thank you for yeah,
100.
namaste. Yeah. So, in that respect, you're in the 100 club. So thank you for giving us the time. And I suppose what I would say is that I look forward to watching what happens next, because I was always every time we spoke, I was always kind of like looking forward to speaking with you. I know you were really helpful to me for just listening to what I was going through as well, and that was really appreciated. And we got pretty deep in a lot of topics, and I really savor and that's a sacred time that we had together, even though we
Yeah.
weren't physically in person in the IRL. And then look forward to being IRL in the future, and look forward to having more conversations with you, because really really appreciate the friendship and the connection with you.
Oh,
So
Andrew, right back at you. I am grateful, if I may add one more. I'm grateful for this conversation. It's much needed. Obviously, as friends, it's been a minute, and how cool is it to have a conversation that we would have anyways and share it? I think there's something
exactly.
beautiful there. And just thank you. I'm very excited at this stage in my life to reach as many folks out there and hopefully inspire them, support them, serve them, and just make the world really that much more interesting.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, lovely to spend time with you. And that was Shakir Ramsey, minister of many things, and interesting things coming down the chute that I'm sure they'll become clear very, very soon. But thank you for spending the time with us. And that was Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.